Hi, welcome back to Move Over Extroverts Book Club. Thank you for being here. We are talking today about color coding your calendar. So we are officially in the time management section of the book. Don't worry if you haven't read it, that's okay. We're going to still talk about the topic. And we are covering the chapter on how to color code your calendar. So last week we talked through time blocking. And so the next step is what to do with those time blocks and how to use colors to really, at a just a glance at the week ahead, see how balanced your time is and where you need to add some new things. So let's start it off. Anyone have any ahas around this chapter? Let's start with ahas first, and then we can get into questions.
I'll go. I have always color coded my calendar. I'm a super nerd on that. I'm a highlighter nerd, the whole nine yards. But what I have found when I really looked at my calendar is I have to do a better job of, hence the burnout, putting time, white space for me, for my family, for things I need to do on there, because I will just fill it all up with work stuff. And then that's why I'm running on empty. So I've got to do a better job of that
Yeah, I think that's true for a lot of us. Does anyone color code their white space?
now.
Yeah, that's such a good hack. I remember when I first learned about that, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense because then your brain says you can't put something here
Mhm.
versus actual white space, which just asks to be filled with something.
Yeah.
Awesome. Is anyone new to color coding, or do we all kind of have our routines? I know someone the other day, yeah, Sharon.
I'm not new to color coding. Most of my work-related stuff is coded in purple, and my personal related stuff is coded in blue. Um, but I just noticed that on Monday, when I was kind of, decompressing from coming back from vacation, and I had a transaction closing the next day, and so I had a lot going on. I just noticed looking at it just now that I have my little quarterly joy plan,
Awesome.
a reminder to do that, which obviously I didn't really do, although I did go snorkeling this morning.
Ooh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was good. We saw a lot of
So
fish.
jealous.
Me too. That's excellent. Okay, so you're good at putting stuff in the calendar, noticing it, color coding. Maybe we can work on following it, which is always the challenge, of course, for all of us. Yeah. For me, my colors are blue for everything with this business, my Move Over Extroverts business, coaching, speaking, podcasts, all of that is in blue. It's the color of the book, it's the color of that brand, so it made sense for that to be blue. All of my lead gen activities for real estate specifically are in green. I took that from Bold years ago, money making activities in green. I put all of my personal stuff, yoga classes, cooking dinner, that sort of thing in pink. And then I have purple for real estate specific activities like appointments, showings, anything that's like transactional in the business. And then lastly, I have orange for real estate education, CEs, the pivot call every morning, that sort of thing. So that's a breakdown of how I use color. And I really do try to pay attention. I'll pull up and show you guys on my phone what it looks like. A few of them kind of overlap, but for instance, this is like 2 weeks from now. So it's a good variety of colors. And there is some white space in there that I need to go in and fill with things. Um, Yeah, like this is this week. And I don't put a lot of stuff on the weekends because I try to keep those more flexible if possible. Um, but it really does make a difference to look at it and see that's the whole purpose, right? So if you're watching this and you're new to this concept, the whole purpose is to look and see, am I just working or am I also balancing and doing things to recharge my batteries? Um, I'll reiterate the drive time. That was a huge mistake I made early in my career, not putting drive time into my calendar, especially if you're in somewhere where it's a big city. It can take time, hour and a half sometimes to get somewhere. So that is time that has to go in the calendar. So you can include that as a different color if you want, but it needs to be in there so it's not overlapping. So, all right, let's move on to any questions, or if somebody wants to share their system that's working well, that would be helpful also. And as always, feel free to use the chat. I know we have a few people we don't hear from super often, so you can always unmute or use the chat, whatever you're comfortable with.
Ashley, I feel like, well, I felt I was off to a good start and with my real estate. And then I think I got really wrapped up in my listing and then I had the closing. And then all of a sudden, I feel like everything just went sideways. I do the color coding and everything, but now I'm like struggling to fill the time with and not work all the time. That's what my difficulty is. I don't really know how to find a balance because I feel like I should be working all the time because I don't have anything coming in the pipeline right now. So that's my dilemma.
Mm, that is a good challenge. I'm glad you brought that up because I think a lot of people struggle with that same thing, where if you don't have as much in the pipeline, it can, what I'm hearing is guilt. There's guilt that comes with taking time off, and you feel like you quote unquote should be working more. What I would say to that without seeing your calendar specifically is first and foremost, make sure that you have enough lead gen and lead follow-up, both of those in the calendar. Like though once those two are in there and you're doing those enough, then all the rest of the time is fair game. And a portion of that should be rest. Like it has to be rest. Otherwise, when you do have the business, you're not going to be well equipped to take care of it in the best way. So that's where the balance is priorities, lead gen, lead follow up. That's the priority. And then rest, and then everything else.
And what do you, Claire, what do you think is enough? I mean, as far as lead gen, lead follow up, that's where I'm struggling with. I don't really have like, you know, how much time do I need to dedicate to this? Does
Well,
that make sense?
it does make sense, and the actual amount is going to vary depending on what the strategy is. So if you're okay with it, let's talk through what you're specifically doing, and we can brainstorm around you specifically to help everyone else. So what are the lead gen pillars that you're really focused on right now?
Well, I have my team leaders got me set up, so I have leads that come in automatically from a company called Homelight.
Okay.
So I have them that I'm working, and then I'm trying to work my sphere as well. So I, I'm just trying to, and I don't know if I'm spending too much time on in the leads that might not go anywhere. And I'm having a hard time with my sphere as well because I spent 10 years with Keller Williams in the back side of the office and doing um, uh, the inside office stuff. And now I feel like everybody I know is an agent. So it's been tough trying to, and my sphere is not local. My sphere, most of them are out of town.
Okay. Makes sense. Thank you for sharing. The first category, the incoming leads that you have from the website, that I would categorize as lead follow-up. And I would dedicate time to that as long as, it's a system. It has to be a system. It can't be with online leads, it can't be just you try them once and they may or may not. It has to be a system in place to keep trying them over and over and over again. There are ways to automate that. There are like auto texts that you can set up. I would hit them in all different ways, email, text, phone call, and have a variety. So that would make a nice time block for, I don't know, maybe an hour a day or even a half hour a day, depending on how many you have. And then in terms of your sphere, that's a huge pillar that can take a lot of forms. Are we doing client events? Are we doing phone calls? Are we doing snail mail, social media, all of the above? For anyone who's been, I know you've been around for a long time, so have I. There's like the 33 touch, the 36 touch, or nowadays it's more like the 100 touch, right? Where it's a lot more touches. In general, as a ballpark, I would say 2 to 4 hours a day on work days. That's 5 days a week. That's not 7 days a week. I think that's a good kind of range for a combination of generating new leads, however that looks, and lead follow-up, however that looks. But I was in the same boat as you where I didn't have a sphere locally. I grew up in Michigan and I built my business in Massachusetts. So I had to go out and build the sphere. So that might be part of your lead gen is going out and meeting new people somehow.
Yeah, that's what I'm struggling with being an introvert. Throw that right back in. Yeah, going out and meeting new people. Awkward, right?
Ah. Well, we'll have a lot
Patty, is
more.
there, sorry, I was just going to jump in.
Oh,
Is
please
there,
do.
is there a something that you love to do, a hobby? Because if you can find like-minded people, that could be a great way for you to lead gen with like-minded people and get out. Just a thought.
Yeah, I have been volunteering at Honeymoon Island, which is near me at the nature center, um, and loving every minute of that. I just feel like it's just going to be a slow go, and I guess I've just got to get used to that.
Yeah, I was going to ask the exact same question, and we'll have a whole session on this, multiple sessions on this when we get into the lead gen portion of the book. But definitely start with hobbies and volunteering and places where you're either already spending time or that you would enjoy spending time, because that can make it easier. It does take time though. Like that's why having multiple streams is helpful because it is slow going. Now, I will say that targeting other business owners can be helpful. Um, I just printed this. I stole this from somebody in the pivot group. I forget who. But I printed this out and I'm going to take it around my local town and add people. I printed it upside down by accident. But what you do is you have all these local businesses and then you have your info on the back here and it's free. You have your, real estate stuff here. And it's like a local guide to all the local businesses. So that could be a way to go and get more exposure in the community. I like a chamber of commerce. I'm a chamber girl. So I find a lot of good connections that way. It is uncomfortable. I'm not gonna lie. It's uncomfortable. It takes energy. That's why we started. That's why I set up the book the way I did, where it's energy management first, and then time, and then lead gen. Because the lead gen stuff takes time and energy. So if
For
you're
sure.
going to start doing networking events and going to things and talking to people and getting out there, you got to make sure that you're not spending all your energy doing it. You have to have enough going into it and then spend some of it, but not all of it, and then come back and recharge. Who else has thoughts around this? Paul.
I was thinking, okay, um, with respect to what Patty was saying, I wonder if one thing, so I should say, like one thing that I've been working on is building up my Google reviews, because if I can capitalize on, current and past business for reviews, then that will help with future business, I think. And that is always out there. And so if I have a new prospect, I can kind of send them the Google reviews to help sort of vet me, or, kind of like it's not me touting myself, it's other people touting me. But then also it's just out there potentially promoting myself, or just out there as a resource, as a lever that I'm investing in that's semi-passive. So just an idea or thought.
Yeah, that's a good thought. I like it. It's social proof. When somebody else says that you're good, it legitimizes that you're good. It shouldn't, but it does. That's just how humans work. So that's a good, more passive way to lead generate and have, I would put that in more of the marketing category. Very important to have it there and at the same time be doing other things in addition that are more active. Um, I do want to plug something real quick because we're talking about this. I don't talk about this a lot, but I do offer one-on-one business planning. So if anyone watching is interested in that, please reach out to me. It's pretty reasonably priced for one-on-one. It's $950 all in, and that gets you a couple hours with me, really putting together your actual custom business plan and then a follow-up to make sure it's working. So just want to throw that out there because I know we can only do so much on these calls. Yeah, Sharon, did you have something to add?
I was just gonna piggyback on what Paul said, and remind everyone not to forget to do a reply to every review you get. You
Mm,
know, thank the person for the opportunity, and play off of what they said somehow, maybe, or I always, when I see Google reviews for something, when I look at them, if I'm trying to judge who I want to go with, I'm more likely to go with a company that responds to their reviews than those who don't.
absolutely. That's an excellent point, and I'm the same way. I would say there's also an opportunity to copy and paste it and make a social media post about it, and put it on your website. I think there's a lot of things that you can do. Awesome. What other thoughts or questions do we have around color coding the calendar? What are the challenges or what's working well?
One thing I like about it is that I can move things around. If things change, or if I'm doing an event that um, is draining or going to be draining, I can make sure and structure in a recharge something or other later that same day or before, or whatever, my feeling is for the moment, um, in order to balance the effort, that introvert effort that we make.
Yeah, it's huge. It's plugging yourself into the wall as though you were a cell phone.
That's right. That was a good analogy.
Thank you. Yeah, Paul.
Um, Before I get to color coding, I have a question regarding planning. You know how you were saying when you go time blocking, first you want to do the solo planning, then you do family, and then you do business, and then you can do the color coding.
Yeah.
My question is, how how far out do you plan when you, is that like an overarching thing? Like whenever you plan, if you're looking at the next year, the next month, the next week, you start out with those lenses first, probably. But then how often are you looking at that?
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, you plan out the whole year of vacations and time off and all. I don't find that to be super practical unless you have something like a lot of us are going to London for this conference in April. We're going to plan that far in advance. It's international travel, there's a lot of moving parts. Smaller things, days off, weekend trips, it's really hard to plan out a whole year in advance of those. It's not realistic for most of us. So for me, I plan anything that already has dates goes in the calendar. Anything that does not have dates that I'm planning, I usually plan stuff maybe a couple weeks to a month in advance, but I don't go too nuts with it just because I want to allow for the flexibility of the business to change and for my things to come up in my personal life to change. If Keith tells me, oh, we have a birthday party to go to next weekend, well, I can't have every second scheduled for the next month, and then I'll have to rearrange everything. So I find that a couple weeks out to a month out for me personally is a good flow. It feels manageable and realistic, and also gives me enough time to look forward to the really fun things. That being said, I do like to incorporate the joy list and have that joy plan for one thing a month. So I have that in place, but I don't have dates attached to it until we get a lot closer. Like I know sometime this fall, I'm going to go to this spa that's down the street that I've never been to, but I drive by it all the time. I don't know when I'm going to find that's where you kind of toggle back and forth between the joy plan, the joy list, and the calendar and see where you can plug stuff in. Is that helpful?
Yes, extremely. And then the other thing I was going to say was that I wanted to add on to what we were talking about earlier in terms of maybe lead gen or something like that. I was on this mastermind call earlier in the year, and I just wanted to share an idea that an agent had shared. They said um, they wanted a manageable sort of market, lead gen plan,
Mhm.
and so attainable. So they said, I loved it. So I started off using this. They said they wanted to do 40 lunches or coffees throughout the year. So it was like less than one a week, whereby they met with someone in their sphere and purposely talked about and asked for a referral or, something like that. So I thought, isn't that an attainable, even for an introvert,
Mhm.
right? Like just less than once a week, but that was that agent's particular goal, and I thought I would just share that. So
I love that. I think once a week or less is totally doable and a very important piece of most people's lead gen plans. Like I can't think of anyone who wouldn't benefit from something like that, whether it's past clients, a sphere. For me, like I had one today, somebody I met through the Chamber of Commerce. I met her months ago, and we're finally getting around to doing our one-on-one. But it was great. We talked family, we talked business. I told her a few out of the box ways that she could help me out and refer me business, including out of state referrals, which is something, by the way, if you're networking with people who are doing a lot of networking and they know a lot of agents, that's a good ask to say, well, of course, I'm happy to help buyers and sellers locally, and I can help vet and find a great agent anywhere in the country and in lots of different countries as well. And it's a little bit different because most people have, you know, 10 different realtors that they know. Not everyone, don't let that stop you from networking. But finding things that can differentiate yourself. I also ask them to keep an eye out for hoarder houses for me because I have an investor who loves a hoarder house and it makes a great flip for him. So think about ways to kind of differentiate yourself. But I love that. 40 a year, totally doable. All right, well, we are at the half hour This was a great conversation. Thank you all. I will see you next week. And please tell other people about this call because it's a good one. I think it's a good one anyway. I'm biased.
It is a good
Right.
one.
It's a good one.
It's good because you all are here and make it good. Otherwise, it would be just me talking into space. So, all right, everyone have a good week, and I will see you next Thursday.
Bye bye.
Bye.